things are happening in Anaheim. So GM Bob Murray looks at the situation and says, we have to change something. And what does he do? Well, there's a lot going on here. I want to start with call-ups. Troy Terry, Sam Steele, Max Jones all called up. We need some offense. We need young guys. All right, guys, this is your chance. Ryan Kessler to the injured reserve. Kessler came out today and said he's not going to waive his no-movement clause. He has a family. He has a job. And if it's a rebuild, that's fine. He'll help the kids out. I don't know how I would feel about that as a general manager, but it reminded me of why. That's part of the reason why Vancouver fans weren't happy with him was when he said, I want to leave Vancouver, but I will only leave 4, and Anaheim was basically the only option because he wanted to go win a cup. That was the big thing. He wanted to go win a cup. So here's your cup. Jacob Silverberg's also been put on the IR, or Jakob Silverberg's been put on the IR, whatever way you pronounce it. He's still in the injured reserve. But I'm wondering with Kessler, I know he's had nagging injuries, and maybe the team has finally decided that despite the fact that he's good on faceoffs, he's just too much of a liability out there at this stage to have him on the ice. Maybe. And you got to make room for these kids coming up. Now, speaking of making room, what they've added today, they added Justin Kloos for Pontus Aberg. That to me is just a move to get a guy that they had to pass through waivers to send to the minors. They may not have felt he could pass through waivers. He goes to Minnesota. Aberg hasn't played since January. I think it's January 6th. He had a -3 in that game. That was the game against Edmonton. That was the end of it. And Aberg hadn't had a point in a while, and he was a minus in every single game. So his defensive deficiencies came back to haunt him. Now he's a member of the Wild. Enjoy that, Minnesota. Vancouver got Luke Shen in a 7th-round draft pick in 2020. Doesn't really matter. Michael Del Zotto was not playing in Vancouver, clearly in the doghouse. It's contract out, contract in, and it's picking up a draft pick in 2020. Doesn't really make a big difference for Vancouver. And who knows, maybe Del Zotto in a new environment, maybe he'll start to get things together. And Pittsburgh, how do they factor into this? Well, they picked up Joseph Blandisi, who hasn't played regularly in the NHL since he had a half season with the Devils. And he played, I think, 28 or 29 games the year after. He's played a handful of games for the Ducks. Really hasn't fit in. And what they get back from Pittsburgh, they get back Derek Grant. Grant hasn't fit in with the Pittsburgh side of things, but last year with Anaheim, he played 66 games, had 12 goals and 12 assists for 24 points. So Murray clearly looked at Grant and said, that's the kind of work ethic we want in our bottom 6. We want to get him back. Called up Pittsburgh and did what he had to do. Now, I have to say, and then you add in the Devin Shore pickup from Dallas. Shore went pointless in his first game with Anaheim, and no shots on goal. I think he had 4 hits. They're making minor changes, but it's as close to a teardown as you can get without touching your core. They haven't touched a main player yet, but you get the feeling that Murray's working the phones, and he's doing whatever he has to try to improve this team. So, while a couple of these may appear to be head-scratchers, Del Zotto, if he can get back onto his game and start playing well again, which Vancouver's not the first team that's looked for that from him, probably not going to be the last, because here's Anaheim hoping for the same thing, but he can get hot here and there. You just never know. Grant gives them something they knew from last year, and like I said, they brought in Kloos just because they had to move Aberg. They couldn't get him through waivers. You might as well get something back for him. And they've called all the kids up. So it's time for the kids to put up or shut up for the Anaheim Ducks. And for Anaheim, it's a very, very interesting time indeed. Because again, there's kind of been this massive facelift, and yet I get the feeling there's more moves to come, and that there's a big one coming down the road, and Murray's going to do what he can. And I'm also wondering, in these moves, because he said he's not getting rid of Randy Carlisle, did he call him up, into his office and say, okay, here's your roster. Which one of these guys do you think we need to jettison? And I'm guaranteeing he said Aberg first. And he said Pontus has got to go. He had a hot streak at the start of the year. He has 11 goals, but he is not a core guy for us. He's not going to be, and he can go. And we'll see what happens with Anaheim from here. They are not out of the playoffs. You can't do a full teardown with a team that's only, what, 2 points out of the playoffs? You just can't. I know there are going to be people that disagree with me on that, but I don't see it. I don't see a full teardown here. And we'll see if these changes make that improvement happen for Anaheim. They've been close a lot of games. They've lost some games in overtime. They've lost some games by 1 goal. Maybe this helps. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, Anaheim, I think you're going to be very, very active between now and the deadline. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.